Here we go. All right. So, good evening, everybody. It is Monday, May the 21st. My goodness, already May the 21st. First, if I could ask anybody just to maybe mute yourself. And whenever you want to say something, just unmute. Okay, so that will avoid the feedback. So, tonight, as you know, Mike DiMuccio is in Japan. And really, enjoying something that he absolutely deserves. So it's my pleasure to be your host tonight. What I wanted to discuss tonight, actually, is something that we talk about all the time, but that my experience is a lot of consultants have, trouble with it or lack of confidence, which is how to leverage their A and do a three-way call. And I see a lot of heads nodding. That is something that we tend to struggle with, isn't it? Or that we have new people struggle with. So first of all, as a concept, it's more about leveraging your A in general, right? So when we talk about leveraging the A, there's few things, and I really would like to make this call an interactive course because I think that would be really important. So when you want to say something or raise a question, just do so, okay? But what is the A? The A can be a person. An A can be a tool, meaning a video or an audio or pictures, right? If we're face-to-face with somebody. And another A can be the event, right? So tonight, what I would like to focus on particularly is the person, the upline, the crossline, because usually that's where we have a lot more struggle. Yeah? Okay. Now, I'd like actually to ask the question to the group. What do you believe is the purpose of a three-way call or introducing the A? What do you believe is the purpose of that? No one?
How about validation?
Validation, definitely. And validation about what the consultant, the B, right? Because we're talking about the ABC. It's about validating what the B has shared up to that point with the prospect or the consultant. Absolutely. What other reason?
Edification.
Well, edification is not the purpose of the three-way call.
Oh.
Edification is part of how we introduce the person, but that's not the purpose of the three-way call. Okay. So we're talking about validation. Another reason for the three-way call.
Showing that you're in business for yourself, but not by yourself, and that you learn by listening to what the person is saying. And now that we have this medium, I like it because you can watch the nonverbal reactions, so you have a better opportunity to find out where they really are. We're excited about our new prospect, and in our excitement.
Okay, great. So we're talking about validation. Now we're talking about teamwork, leveraging the team. What are the reasons, guys?
Well, we all know that third-party credibility, which is sort of what the first comment was, is really important. I often think of a story that was told to me about someone who's telling their child, this is not okay, you can't do this, whatever. And the child would say, whatever. And then one evening, a neighbor was there for dinner, and the neighbor said, well, it's really not okay to do that. And he says, oh, okay, I'm glad you told me because nobody else did. It's like, what? People can't hear us.
Okay, great. So again, we know it's reinforcement of validation. Mm-hmm. What else, guys? We're in the right direction. I really would like to be very specific. So let me help you. It's about educating and providing information to the prospect or the consultant, right? That's part of what a three-way call is about. It's to expand their knowledge, the information, right? It's also to give them a different and a bigger perspective of what they think it is, whether it's the product, whether it's the business. So it's really to expand their understanding and give a bigger, broader perspective. Because that's how, the more we open people's mind, the more they would, because we're not here to sell, we want them to see that's what's best for them, so they'd make the decision. So part also, one reason of the purpose of the three-way call is to help them in their decision making.
A good example, Bernadette, was this weekend. I had a combination of repeat, but several new people. And this Power ABC this weekend was testimonies rather than a lot of presentation. And so everybody was very impressed with those stories.
Exactly.
And it was really the validation, because the stories that were being shared by the people I had here had to do with sleep. A young 22-year-old with ADHD and another person with fibromyalgia. And then when they heard those people from all those years, even before the water, we talked a while later that 20 and 25 years ago, water wasn't as bad as it is today, but it really validated the importance of sleep in those stories.
Right. So that's exactly the point. It validates, but at the same time, they hear story maybe of the same product or the business, but with a different angle, for a different benefit, for different results. And that's how it expands, again, guys, their perspective and their understanding, right? But it's really important that it's to help in the decision making. It's not just to talk. It's really about, and we need to really be very clear about what is the intention of a three-way call. It's to help them in the decision making, either as this is not for me, yes, I want you to embrace, and live in a wellness home, and this is how I get started, or I want to be a consultant, or if the three-way call is with a consultant, now they decide to become a partner. It's to take them, to help them make a decision. And that's really important. We don't do three-way call just to talk. That's not good enough as our intention, right? So that's really important. So I really think that it's, is, as we know, intention is everything. Because when we are clear about why are we doing what we do, then we don't lose focus. And we do everything that we can in order to get the job done, whatever that means, whatever the job is, right? Now, we all the time hear the benefit of the three-way call and the ABC. Now, and you don't necessarily have to answer, but I'm asking the question to each and every one of you: how often do you do the three-way call and the ABC? Do you do it with everybody, every prospect? Do you do it with every consultant that you have on your team? And I see, by looking at your faces, I can gather that a lot of times that three-way call is not happening. Correct? Right. Now, let me ask you, and I really would like to hear some response here. Why do you think you don't do even though you know the benefit of it, even though you know how valuable as a tool it is, why do you think you don't really do it? What are the reasons that you don't do it? Because unless we address those reasons, you're still not going to do it.
I think for new people, it's a foreign concept, and what we don't understand, we usually say no to or just ignore. So I think that's a common reason for new people not to embrace a three-way. They don't, even though they would have had a three-way, they don't understand the power of it in their own business yet.
So then, okay, Maggie, but then I'm going to talk to that consultant who is actually doing it, then somehow the benefit of the three-way call has not been taught properly. I will challenge that.
Well, it may have been taught properly, but they may not have heard it. There's a difference there.
Well, then in that case, maybe they didn't experience that three-way call.
Yeah.
So maybe academically they've been taught about the three-way call, but they never experienced the benefit of it.
Sometimes it's getting the rejections. People think it's like in the car salesman where they got to go bring another boss out. or they have that negative impression, because I've had people say, no, I don't really need to hear from anybody else. And I'll say, well, it's really the opportunity to gain another perspective, you know. And I like using a friend, another person, a colleague. I really don't like the upline terms and so forth, because that does tend to be a trigger that you're bringing somebody in to try to convince you. And just recently, I have a new occupational therapist, and she is so excited, has been inviting everybody. And she said, Madeline, you know, this person is worried, she doesn't, and she just needs, when she came, she even came into the house, she stepped in very guarded, and then just melted after a little bit of conversation. But many prospects are guarded. And so how we introduce having a three-way conversation is a skill that needs to be practiced.
You're right. But then that, you know, and I want, you know me, I challenge things, right?
Yeah,
for those
that's
who
fine.
know,
You can challenge.
I challenge is we project our own energy.
We do.
Right? We project our energy onto people, whether they're prospect, whether they're consultant. If we are unsure of the power and the positive benefit of the three-way call, what do you think they're going to sense? That we are unsure.
Yeah.
And if we are unsure, that's what's going to make them back away from it.
One of the things that I've discovered after many years of three-way calls is, for me, I don't ask their permission. I just assume it's part of the process. So I say, what we're going to do now is talk to one of my colleagues so you can see what the support is here. So that it's not a question. It's not, do you want to do a three-way? People go, what? They don't even know what that is. They'll say no. But if you say, you know, the next step in the process for you to be completely informed is for you to meet some of my colleagues. And I'm going to call Mike or somebody right now and introduce you.
Mm-hmm, absolutely. So let me go back to the question that I asked is, why is it that we don't do them all the time, right? One, there's lack of competence, probably, because, you know, confidence comes from competence, right? So that's part of it, is lack of competence of how to properly introduce the benefit of the three-way call. And we're going to talk about that. But ask yourself, in the back of your mind, do you feel that maybe it's, you know, when people say, well, you know, they don't want to be pushed. We've all heard this hundreds of times, is whatever objection we get is usually an objection that we still have in ourselves. Myself, I never get objection, ever. I only get questions. So for me, when somebody tells me something, I say, okay, I just need to address that. But I never see that as, so if maybe, you know, we're feeling that, maybe we're going to be pushy, or they feel they're going to be pushy. Maybe, by the way, you had that experience yourself. That maybe when you went on three-way call, you felt pushed. And that is somehow still there. So ask yourself, why is it that you're feeling that way? Because then you need to address it. All right? So because, you know, being pushed means that we are thinking about ourselves versus thinking about the prospect and the consultant. You know, I don't believe that when we really come from the heart and we make them understand, we're here to help. I'm here for you. I'm here for you. I have this, I'm not, by the way, myself, one thing that I say all the time is, it doesn't matter to me whether or not you're going to buy the product. I say that all the time to people. And people really say, what do you mean? I say, if you think this is going to make me a lot of money, I can tell you exactly how much I'm going to make. So it really is not in the big picture. It doesn't matter. But it's going to matter to you and to your family in terms of your quality of life. I'm here to show you this. So, and that's why, so just ask yourself, you know, what posture do you have? What is your confidence level when you do that? You know, another thing is a lot of time as well, people think that to do a three-way call is only for people who have a business interest. That, I see a lot of consultants, they think that's what it is. So because they think, oh, it's about the business, so I don't do three-way call with the others. Or I'm afraid that when I do a three-way call, it's all going to be about business. So then I don't even do a three-way call about the product. Right? There's that. Again, if we go back to what is the purpose of a three-way call, it's to expand the person's understanding, to provide them more information so they can make the decision that's right for them. When we always go back to the intention, which is to serve, then that feeling of being in the middle as a salesperson will go away. I remember one call that I did, you know, at some point in time, was a consultant who called me and said, Bernadette, I have somebody who wants to buy Nikken socks. Well, I've been around Nikken for a bit and say, well, why? And immediately say, why does the person want to buy Nikken socks? Because for anybody to buy Nikken socks, you have to know what they do, right? Because otherwise you're not going to look for the Nikken socks. Can we agree to that, right? So I said, so why is it? What's going on with the person? Oh, I don't know. She just wants Nikken socks and she wants to ask me, you know, what's the difference between that pairs and that style and that style. I said, well, you know what? Why don't we do a call with that person? And we had a lovely call, and she wasn't sure. I said, just let her know, you know, that actually you're not sure, and you're asking my help. And so I gave her, you know, I helped her in terms of how to introduce the call. Turns out that that person knew exactly what those socks were doing because she had some issues with a chronic illness that she had, and that really helped her in a balance in a number of different things. And then I said to her, may I ask, if you don't mind, may I ask you, what is it that you're trying to improve for yourself? And as I say that, she starts to open up. And oh my gosh, now the flood, you know, the gate open. And I'm hearing all those things. And at some point I say, all right, well, if you allow me, may I give you some advice that I believe will be better than the Nikken socks for you to do. And then we went and we had a really pleasant, very positive conversation. And by the end of that 15 minutes call, that person was so grateful that because she realized that she could not only, what I recommended would help her, but she realized that she could get her better, faster. And in no time did she felt pushed in a direction to buy, because that was not the intention of the call. And you know what? By the end of that call, instead of buying a pair of socks, she bought the equivalent of $700 of product. But the goal was not to sell her $700 worth of product. The goal was to show her what would help her in order to create the kind of result she was looking for. So, and I can tell you, I mean, and afterwards that started the whole process of something else, even better and even bigger. So that I believe is really important. What is it that we put into the idea of the three-way call? Is it the sales that we are after, or is it about serving that other person? Right? And that, I believe, is why a lot of consultants are very unsure and uncomfortable in doing three-way calls, because they feel that maybe the person is going to be pushed. Yeah? One thing, I don't know if it's Madeline or Maggie who said that, it's how do you introduce a three-way call? You know, it's, and by the way, a three-way call is not about doing something to somebody. It's doing something for somebody. That's a huge difference. We're doing it for them, not to them, right? It's for their benefit, not for ours. That I believe. And when we come from that point, they just can feel it, how we talk to them and how we respond and all of that, right? Now, myself, and I like Maggie, and I like Maggie, what you said is when I introduce a three-way call, I introduce it right from the beginning, which is why I never had an issue. Maggie said something that is really important is she's not asking permission. She introduced the three-way call as part of the process. Okay. Now, myself, I don't know. There's the internal, like any profession, we have an internal language that people from the outside really don't understand. It feels bizarre, like three-way call, even sometimes conference call, it's just bizarre. Applying, those kind of things, say, what is that? What are you doing to me? Kind of, right? So it's really about using words that is more of a conversation. But myself, when I talk to somebody in terms of introducing a three-way call, let's say, Connie, you're my prospect. And I would say to you, and let's say you would say to me, yeah, Bernadette, I definitely would like to find out more about Nikan. For example, if you're right at the beginning of the introduction, right, of the discovery process, I would say, Connie, that's wonderful. So let's do this. And we've expressed and say, I'm particularly intrigued, Bernadette, for example, with the sleep, what you talk about the sleep. I say, great. So why don't we do this? Let me just, if I have a little video, I would say, let me send you this short video that will give you an understanding of what people are feeling as benefit, how it's helping them. And I know that after you watch that video, we'll have a lot more to talk about. And because I want to do the best job that I can for you, Connie, I'll ask a friend of mine to join me on a call so you could get a bigger perspective. And you can ask any question to any of the two of us. And then we'll go from there. So immediately, I'll introduce the tool, and I'll tell what the benefit would be, and that is going to help understand. Immediately, I'll say, again, it's about introduce someone else, and it's about providing her the best information. It's about, expanding her perspective and understanding. So it's a very words that we use all the time. And I'll be honest with you, myself, I don't necessarily I use the word friend not that often, I'll be honest with you, because sometimes it's a bit too casual, right? So again, words really matter, because then if it's a friend, it doesn't seem that for some people, it may not sound as important because it's a casual discussion. Right, I would say, I really want to introduce you to, for example, a person who has been actually helping a lot of people, for a number of years, and really has a wealth of knowledge and understanding. And I'm sure that whatever question you have, she can answer it. So immediately understand. So that, I believe, is really important. And then then Connie would say, sounds great, Bernadette. I say, great. So Connie, as soon as we hang up, I'll send that to you. Now let's set up a time when you and I are available. Let's give me a couple of times that works for you. We need about 15 minutes or more. It depends on how many questions you have, right? But give me a couple of different times. Let's decide what works for both of us. Then I'll contact, the person I'm thinking of, and then I'll get back to you within 24 hours to confirm which time works.
Sounds great, Bernadette. You can call me anytime.
And by the way, when we do that, we need to remember whatever we teach our prospect or our consultant, that's what they remember. We're already in teaching mode. The moment we take a long time to introduce a three-way call, guess what they're going to do? It's going to take them a long time to introduce a three-way call, which is why it doesn't happen. So right from the beginning, we're on teaching mode, right? So, and it's all about the experience. So let's make the experience positive, fun, natural. So because then, once let's move forward, somebody decide to become a consultant and they say, okay, Bernadette, I'd love, I like what I'm seeing, because I like, and they decide at some point in time they want to be a consultant, and they're going to ask me, so Bernadette, what do I do? And I would say, remember when you and I, we started to talk first? I said, yeah. Remember what I did? As I gave you a little video to have a look. We had a conversation with someone, and we answered your question, and then you decide, yeah, that's exactly what we're going to do. And the person said, oh, okay, I can do that. right? So the better, the more positive experience a person gets, the more confident they will become. And then they're not going to freak out. Because as soon as I say three-way call, what's that? What's that? I said, no. Remember what we did at the beginning? Yeah, we had a conversation. Yeah, and we answered your question. That's what we do in our work. Makes sense, right? It's like the benefit, a product, we share the product because we experience the benefit of the product. Well, the business is the same. People are going to share it when they get a positive experience. So it's really important that we give them that positive experience right from the get-go. Right from the get-go. Okay? Now, introduction, I don't remember who said introduction. I think maybe Madeline, it's you who talked about introduction. I'm not too sure. But edification, not introduction, edification. Edification is key. When we are on the three-way call, to really do a proper edification, because I've heard sometimes things and say, oh my gosh, I've heard the quickest edification I've heard was, here's Bernadette. Okay. And why do you think the person is going to be motivated to listen to Bernadette? There's no reason, right? So that is one of the worst things that we could do. Another thing that is really bad also is when somebody does an edification but over the top. Because then it's just non-genuine. It's not real. And I said to people, guys, don't do it in 15 seconds. You don't need more than 15 seconds. But you need to know what you're doing. And it's not necessarily about the business success. The purpose of the edification is so that the prospect or the consultant identifies with the A. Because when they identify with the A, when there's that connection, then they are in the same mindset. They relate. So for example, let's say if somebody was doing a three-way call, they could introduce me as a mom with 3 kids who started with 3 little kids at home. But if you start to talk about my corporate background and the person, the other woman who you're introducing to has never worked in organizations, I have nothing in common with that person at all. So it's important to understand, who is the A, what's the story we want to give about the A, and how to relate it to the person who we're doing the three-way call. That is really important. If it's about product, it's, this person, let's say if I was introducing Madeline, not only I will definitely mention her background, but I may not overemphasize her background as a nurse, because that could be really impressive. And not only that, but it could just make the call too scientific and medical, which is not what I want. What I would say to the person, say, I'm so glad Madeline is somebody who I absolutely trust. I've known her for a number of years. She comes from the medical field as a registered, and I say all that. But more important than that, she has the experience of helping thousands of people with what we're talking about. That is what I want the person to hear, not her medical background, because otherwise it's going to turn into a medical discussion. And I don't want a medical discussion. You see what I'm saying, right? So just know who is your A, know who's your C, and at what level do you want to connect them. And then the three-way call is also very important ahead of time to let the A know what is the purpose of the call. It's not just for the A to connect to the C. What is the purpose of the call? What stage is the B at? What stage is the B at? Whether it's a prospect or consultant or a partner. What is the intention of that call? What is the result or the next step that we will want to see happen after that call? And if you feel that you're a bit shy about asking or the next step, because here's the thing, I see so often consultants do three-way calls, but then they don't know what to do after. Right? And then they get lost into the follow-up and the follow-through. Well, the best thing, if you know that's part of your challenge, is before the calls end, 5 minutes before, is that you ask the A. Now, let's say if Madeline was my A, talking to my prospect, my consultant, I say, so Madeline, with what was discussed on this call, what do you recommend is the next step for Susie? And now I just have to take notes about what Madeline's recommendation next steps are. And then the A would just do that, whether it's product, whether it's business, whatever that is, whatever the next steps are. And then it's really important that before you hang up the phone or the Zoom is that you agree that the next step is going to happen. Whether it's a date and a time, but that you agree with it. Because don't say, that's great. I say, I'll call you back. No. No, because then we're wasting time again. Maybe then the A said, now disconnect, which is very often what happens. And let's say Madeline does her magic and then she disconnects from the call. Now I'm on my own with Susie. And I say, Susie, this is great. So now let's set up a time and a date when we're going to meet or whatever steps has been agreed. I do not hang up until that next step has been determined in terms of date and time. That is key. And the key, and by the way, what is really important, if you can ask the A or you to say to the prospect, to the C, is how does it sound? After they make their recommendation, how does it sound? Do you see yourself taking the next step? Ask confirmation. Because now you get their agreement. And once they agree, if for any reason they say, but hang on a second, didn't you say that you were... So what has happened in between? Now you have a way to go back to them. Make sense? Any question on the whole topic of the A? Ahas, question, or added comment that you want to share with the group?
I think a connection that I just made is to that infamous 100-name list. So it puts a little bit more meaning into the conversations that you're having as you're working with the people whose name's on the list, looking at the categorizing and so forth and improving outcomes.
Okay.
What you're doing with people on the list. Thank
Wonderful.
you.
Wonderful. Anyone else? No? No question? Okay, so you got it. Okay, so before we end the call, I just want to add on to the A, leveraging the A, as we have lots of tools and videos. So I'm not going to go into there because that's a whole. We could have a conversation just on that. But the two big A that are coming up are the big events, right? There's the Orlando event coming up in July. Remember, it's July 26 to 28. There may or may not, it's not been confirmed whether or not there will be an HBM on the 29th. That has not been confirmed yet. But definitely, it's if you haven't got your ticket, it's going to be wonderful. A lot of hands-on practical. Definitely a big A, right? The event is a big, big A. So that's that. And then Toronto Summit. I have to tell you, this is going to be an exciting, really exciting event. I know the ticket sales is going to happen anytime soon. So the link is going to be sent to everybody anytime soon. And it's limited tickets, by the way, for Toronto, because there's a maximum capacity to the room. So once the tickets are sold, the sales will be closed. Because through the grapevine, there had been a huge promotion of that event in Latin America this past week. We expect a lot of people from Latin America and South America coming, which means a big portion of the tickets are going to be taken by them. We can see that happens. It's great. So my recommendation, that's what I recommend to my team. Once that link is sent to everybody, don't wait. Don't wait. And it's going to be such a special event, very different. It's called the Humans Being More Summit. If you haven't seen that, Human Being More Summit, really Bob Proctor will be there as a special speaker as well. So really different contents, different feel. I love those events because they really just build up on each other. They're so different, but so powerful. So I cannot recommend those events enough. Okay? And last thing, next weekend, it's Memorial Day weekend, Monday. So it's a holiday. So there will not be any call because it's a holiday. Okay? Let's make sure that we all enjoy a long weekend and take a break for that. All right? Wonderful, everybody. So I wish you a fabulous week. We have another 10 days, 11 days to go until the end of the month. Let's make it count, right? Let's make it count. Learn what you've learned tonight. Apply it. The key thing is start somewhere. Start somewhere. If you've never done ABC, do one. Do one. Because confidence comes from doing things. I don't know of any. The best way to get rid of the fear, the best way to get competence, the best way to increase confidence is to do it and learn from it. Learn what works, learn what doesn't work, learn what's right for you, what feels right for you, and do it. And once you've done one, say, okay, that wasn't so bad. It didn't kill me, so I can do another one. And then we do another one, and then we do another one. All right? Take care.
Thank you, Bernadette.
Bye-bye.
Will you be posting this one? I have a few new people in orientation.
Well, it's recorded, so let me actually stop the recording. Hold on.